We are live, 5:30. Warm welcome, everybody, to St. Michael at the Northgate Church in Oxford, and friends who are listening and watching. And we're going to explore in a few minutes G.K.Chesterton. First of all, I will read a poem. Before the Romans came to Rye, or out to Severn strode, the rolling English drunkard made the rolling English road, a reeling road, a rolling road that rambles round the shire. And after him the parson ran, the sexton and the squire, a merry road, a mazy road, and such as we did tread, the night we went to Birmingham by way of Beachy Head. I knew no harm of Bonaparte and plenty of the squire, and for to fight the Frenchmen I did not much desire, but I did bash their bagonets because they came arrayed to straighten out the crooked road an English drunkard made. Where you and I went down the lane with ale mugs in our hands, the night we went to Glastonbury by way of Goodwin Sands. His sins they were forgiven him, all wider flowers run behind him, and the hedges all strengthening in the sun. The wild thing went from left to right, and knew not which was which, but the wild rose was above him when they found him in the ditch. God pardon us, nor harden us, we did not see so clear, the night we went to Bannockburn by way of Brighton Pier. My friends, we will not go again, or ape an ancient rage, or stretch the folly of our youth to be the shame of age, but walk with clearer eyes and ears this path that wandereth, and see undrugged in evening light the decent inn of death. For there is good news yet to hear, and fine things to be seen, before we go to paradise by way of Kensal Green. One of the best known poems by G.K. Chesterton, and brilliant in its humour, in its rhyming, in its language, in its alliteration, also seeking to make a point, because Chesterton was not over fond of institutions or governments over interfering, and he uses the image of the rolling, rambling road and doesn't need to be too controlled by others. Chesterton lived from 1874 to 1936. It's estimated he wrote more than 15 million words, over 4,000 essays, nearly 100 books, countless articles, and he loved robust debates. Why is he important? Why does he matter? First of all, because he made people think. He took Jesus's command very seriously, that we are to love the Lord our God with our minds as well as our hearts and our souls. And so he would challenge and he would question. One or two quotations about this. Fallacies do not cease to be fallacies because they become fashions. The object of opening the mind as of opening the mouth is to shut it again on something solid. Absolutely good and right to be open-minded, but let's never use it as an excuse for not coming to a decision about what we believe, what we think. In one of his Father Brown detective stories, he spots a priest or someone who is pretending to be a priest. Father Brown recognizes he's fake and says this: "You attacked reason. It's bad theology." One of the most famous aspects of Chesterton's thinking is what's now called Chesterton's fence. The idea that if something is there, if a tradition is present, then let's not rush to take it away unless we're absolutely sure why it was put there in the first place. He said this: "There exists in such a case a certain institution or law, let us say for the sake of simplicity, a fence or gate erected across a road. The more modern type of reformer goes gaily up to it and says, 'I don't see the use of this, let us clear it away.' To which the more intelligent type of reformer will do well to answer, 'If you don't see the use of it, I certainly won't let you clear it away. Go away and think. Then when you can come back and tell me that you do see the use of it, I may allow you to destroy it.'" In the early years of the 20th century, perhaps as in the early years of the 21st century, those words about thinking carefully, not rushing to follow fashion, to ponder why things are already in place, are still perhaps well worth hearing. Secondly, he valued life, all aspects of life. He enjoyed life. One or two quotes on this as well. You say grace before meals, all right, but I say grace before the concert and the opera, and grace before the play and pantomime, and grace before I open a book, and grace before sketching, painting, swimming, fencing, boxing, walking, playing, dancing, and grace before I dip the pen in the ink. Lots of thankfulness in Chesterton's life, lots of enjoyment for all that there was to be enjoyed. He said this, "Here dies another day, during which I have had eyes, ears, hands, and the great world around me. And with tomorrow begins another. Why am I allowed two?" And that sense of wonder is caught up in this next quote. We should always endeavour to wonder at the permanent thing, not at the mere exception. We should be startled by the sun and not by the eclipse. We should wonder less at the earthquake and wonder more at the earth. Someone who enjoyed life, valued life, appreciated life. Thirdly, he was a great defender of the faith. Then, as perhaps now, there were people who thought that if you believe in a God, then somehow you've left your brain at home. G.K.Chesterton had a massive brain, and he was prepared to use it to explain why belief in God is rational and reasonable and should be taken seriously. He also felt that it changed lives. Religion is the thing that makes the ordinary man feel extraordinary. It is an equally important truth that religion is the thing that makes the extraordinary man feel ordinary. So his defense of the faith in books like Orthodoxy, which C.S. Lewis said was very influential on him, books like The Everlasting Man and Heretics, and marbled through his writings the sense that it is reasonable, rational, to believe that there's a God. Fourthly, he liked talking about morality, and he liked to challenge people to think what was right and what was wrong. He said this, "The word good has many meanings. For example, if a man were to shoot his grandmother at a range of 500 yards, I should call him a good shot, but not necessarily a good man." So what do we mean by goodness? What do we mean by badness? And his views on morality were not only personal, about personal life, but also social life and economic life. And he worked and he wrote to produce a better society, as well as help people become better people. In his writings, there is a strong theme of comfort and of understanding that sometimes we don't feel we understand what's going on. Sometimes we feel small. Humility is the mother of giants. One sees great things from the valley, only small things from the peak. And Chesterton would say that however we are feeling, we are to look up and out, and from wherever we are, we can see great things. In one of the Father Brown stories, we have this. "We have taken a wrong turning and come to a wrong place," said Father Brown, looking out of the window at the grey-green sedges and the silver flood. "Never mind, one can sometimes do good by being the right person in the wrong place." If ever we've felt lost or we've taken a wrong turning, that's a great comfort. One can sometimes do good by being the right person in the wrong place. "I mean that we are here on the wrong side of the tapestry," answered Father Brown in another story. "The things that happen here do not seem to mean anything. They mean something somewhere else." And again, those moments when we may not understand everything, but we can trust that one day it will all make sense. The picture will be clear. And then also he influenced others. It was said that he was the one that brought Charles Dickens back into popularity. Charles Dickens, by the end of the 19th century, was not all that popular. Chesterton wrote about him, explained him, and people started reading Dickens again. But looking forward beyond Chesterton, he was immensely influential on several writers, including Tolkien because Chesterton was very keen on good storytelling and the importance of fairy tales in the proper sense, as Tolkien would later explain. Chesterton wrote this: "Fairy tales do not tell children that dragons exist. Children already know that dragons exist. Fairy tales tell children that dragons can be killed." And Chesterton, and there were others as well, feeding into that Tolkien generation that felt that good things could be told, good things could be said by telling stories. But for C.S. Lewis especially, not only the storytelling, but also the fact that he was a very intelligent person believing in God. And Lewis, as an atheist, was struck by Chesterton's words, by his thinking, by his power for argument. And one can see quite a lot of parallels in Lewis's great Mere Christianity with some of Chesterton's early writings. And Lewis acknowledged that and paid tribute to him. Here was a great storyteller. Here was a great defender of the faith. And the next generation appreciated that and followed that. Some of you will have spotted that I've made 6 points, and the title of the video was 7 points. Just remind us of the 6. He made people think. He valued life. A defender of the faith. Interested in morality, living lives well. Interested in comforting people, giving them hope. And a great influence on others who followed him. But the 7th is bookended with another poem, because he was a very good poet and a very good writer of prose. We're coming up to Palm Sunday, and this is a poem for Palm Sunday. When fishes flew and forests walked and figs grew upon thorn, some moment when the moon was blood, then surely I was born, with monstrous head and sickening cry and ears like errant wings, the devil's walking parody of all four-footed things, the tattered outlaw of the earth, of ancient crooked will. Star scourge deride me, I am dumb, I keep my secret still. Fools, for I also had my hour, one far fierce hour and sweet. There was a shout about my ears and palms before my feet. It's likely for most of us this Palm Sunday we won't be able to see a real donkey as we reenact that great moment when Jesus went into Jerusalem. But Chesterton's poem about the donkey can maybe remind us of all that was involved there. But I finish by going back to the first poem, The Rolling English Road, and the last 2 lines. For there is good news yet to hear, and fine things to be seen, before we go to paradise by way of Kensal Green. Chesterton believed in the good news of the gospel, the love of God in Christ, and the good news worth hearing, worth sharing, worth defending. He believed in fine things to be seen, lots in life to be appreciated, to be thankful for, and that by the grace of God, we are on our way to paradise, but we go through lots of ordinary places first, such as Kensal Green. Thank you so much for listening this afternoon. Very best wishes for the evening.